The life and legacy of Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Imagine a world where words paint the history of a nation, where poetry shapes the heart of a culture. In 19th century America, one poet stood out, creating tales that would become the fabric of American literature. Who was this literary giant? Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Today, we dive into the life of Longfellow, a man whose pen captured the essence of an era, whose personal triumphs and tragedies mirrored the nation he loved. Join us as we explore his journey, from the whispers of love to the echoes of loss, and how he became one of America's most beloved poets. Let's step back into the early 19th century, a period of profound transformation in America. In 1807, in the port city of Portland, part of Massachusetts, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow was born into a world on the brink of change. His father, Stephen Longfellow, was a prominent lawyer and later a congressman, a man deeply embedded in the political and cultural fabric of the young nation. His mother, Zilpha Wadsworth, came from a lineage of explorers and pioneers. Her father, Peleg Wadsworth, having served as a general in the American Revolutionary War. From his mother, Henry inherited a love for stories and adventure, while his father instilled in him a sense of duty and the importance of public service. This duality would later define much of Longfellow's work, merging personal and the universal in the intimate with the epic. As young America found its footing, navigating the challenges of independence and identity, so too did young Henry. Growing up in a household that valued education and the arts, the nation, under the leadership of figures like Thomas Jefferson and later James Madison, was expanding its boundaries and its essence of self-stretching westward. It was a time of conflict and compromise, of defining what it meant to be an American. In the early 19th century, education was a privilege not afforded to many, but for Henry, it was the gateway to a world of possibilities. His parents, Stephen and Zilpha Longfellow, understood this well. Stephen, a Harvard graduate, was a testament to the power of education, using his knowledge in law, in politics, to serve his community and nation. Zilpha, with her rich family history of adventure and service, instilled in Henry a love for stories and history. Together, they laid the foundation for Henry's lifelong pursuit of knowledge. When it came for Henry to further his education, the choice was clear. In 1822, at the age of 15, he entered the Bowdoin College in Brunswick, Maine. The college, established just a few decades earlier, was part of a growing movement in America towards accessible higher education, reflecting the young nation's ideals of enlightenment and progress. His college years were marked by an insatiable appetite for learning. Studying Latin and Greek also showed keen interest in modern languages, a rarity at the time. His proficiency in languages was not just academic, it was a bridge to other cultures, other worlds. This linguistic talent caught the attention of the college faculty, and upon his graduation in 1825, Longfellow was offered a unique opportunity, a professorship in modern languages, contingent upon further study in Europe. This offer set Longfellow on a course that would shape not only his career but also his worldview. His travels in Europe, spanning Italy, Spain, France, Germany, and England, were more than academic sojourns. They were a deep immersion into the cultures, languages, and literatures of the Old World. He met with scholars, absorbed the local cultures, and studied at universities, enriching his understanding of the world. Upon his return to the United States in 1829, Longfellow took his position at Bowdoin, bringing with him a wealth of knowledge and a new perspective on literature and language. His approach to teaching was revolutionary. He insisted on teaching languages through literature, believing that the beauty of a language is best understood through its highest expression. Longfellow's time at Bowdoin was a period of growth and exploration, but it was just the beginning. In 1835, he would move to Harvard University, taking up the role of professor of modern languages and literature. There, he would further his impact on American education, inspiring a generation of students to look beyond their shores, to find in literature a common humanity. His passion for literature was not merely a hobby, it was a driving force that shaped his worldview and influenced his entire life's trajectory. Born into a family with deep appreciation for storytelling and education, young Henry Wadsworth Longfellow was surrounded by books from an early age. But it was not just his family environment that fueled his growth, it was also the world around him. He immersed himself in the works of European masters like Dante, Shakespeare, Goethe, drinking deeply from the well of their creativity and craftsmanship. But even as he studied the classics, Longfellow remained grounded in his American identity, finding inspiration in the landscapes and the legends of his homeland. Upon his return to the United States, his enthusiasm took on a new dimension. Armed with an understanding of both European and American literature, he set out to make his mark on the literary landscape. His first collection of poetry, Voices of the Night, published in 1839, was met with a critical acclaim, establishing him as a rising star in American letters. His journey through the literary world was marked by soaring successes and poignant failures, each shaping the man and the myth that he would become. His story is one of resilience, a testament to the enduring power of words and the human spirit to overcome adversity. Following the publication of Voices of the Night and ballads and other poems, his star rose rapidly in the literary firmament. His works, including The Song of Hiawatha, Evangeline, and The Courtship of Miles Standish, captured the imagination of the American public and readers abroad. They celebrated the American landscape, its history, its people, establishing Longfellow's as the nation's first true literary celebrity. Despite his popularity, Longfellow's work was not without its critics. As American literature evolved, tastes changed, and a new generation of writers began to question the romantic ideals that Longfellow's poetry espoused. The rise of realism in the latter half of the 19th century, with its focus on the gritty realities of everyday life, stood in stark contrast to Longfellow's more idealized portrayals of the world. Moreover, Longfellow's academic career, particularly his decision to leave Harvard to focus on writing, was met with skepticism by some contemporaries. The transition from respected professor to professional poet was unconventional, challenging the norms of a society that valued traditional career paths. His later years were marked by recognition and honors, his work becoming staples in American literature. His ability to capture the essence of America's spirit, its struggles, and triumphs made him a beloved figure. His legacy is the testament to the power of words, the strength of the human spirit, and the enduring heart of a nation. His poetry, a bridge between the past, present, and continues to inspire generations to come. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the life of Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. If you were inspired by his story, give this video a like, share it with friends, and don't forget to subscribe.
One of the works of Henry Wadsworth Longfellow is the poem entitled "The Tide Rises, the Tide Falls." So it is a poem about life and death. So before I will give an analysis of this poem, let me read it first. So the tide rises, the tide falls, by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. The tide rises, the tide falls. The twilight darkens, the curlew calls. Along the seasons, damp and brown, the traveler hastens toward the town. And the tide rises, the tide falls. Darkness settles on roofs and walls, but the sea in the darkness calls. The little waves, with their soft white hands, efface the footprints in the sands. And the tide rises, the tide falls. The morning breaks, the steeds in their stalls stamp and neigh as the hostler calls. The day returns, but nevermore returns the traveler to the shore. And so, to summarize the poem, it consists stanza 1 to stanza 3. So in stanza 1, which is "The tide rises, the tide falls. The twilight darkens, the curlew calls. Along the seasons, damp and brown, the traveler hastens toward the town. And the tide rises, the tide falls." So in the first stanza, we can imagine a beach where the tide is like a big ocean wave, where a traveler is walking there as the sun sets, showing the end of the day or a person's life. The rhythm and rhymes in the words make it sound like a song, giving a feeling of things happening over and over. While in stanza 2, which is the darkness settles on roofs and walls, but the sea in the darkness calls. The little waves with their soft white hands efface the footprints in the sands, and the tide rises, the tide falls. So, I think it refers to the night time, where the tide comes in and washes away the footprints the traveler left on the shore. This symbolizes how our time on earth is short, like the footprints that disappear. The darkness of the night makes it feel quiet and a bit sad. While in the stanza 3, which is the morning breaks, the steed in their stalls stamp and neigh, as the hostler calls, the day returns, but nevermore. Returns the traveler to the shore, and the tide rises, the tide falls. So it comes back to daytime, but the traveler is gone. So the poem says the tide keeps doing its thing, which is rising and falling, while the traveler is no more. This part makes us think about how nature goes on even when individual lives comes to an end. So the key themes for this poem is life cycle. So the poem talks about how life, like the tide, has a continuous cycle of rising, refers to birth, and falling, which is death. Next is nature's persistence. So the tide keeps going, highlighting how nature is always there, even when individual lives pass. The main character in the poem is the traveler, but we don't know much about them. I think they represent people in general, going through the journey of life. The significant events in the poem, I think there isn't a specific story with events. Instead, the poem describes the ongoing cycle of the tide and the transient nature of the traveler's presence, emphasizing deeper thoughts about life and nature. So the poem has symbolism. First is the tide. I think tide refers to time, which is it always comes and goes. It shows that life moves forward no matter what. Next is footprints. The footprints represent the mark we leave in the world. When the tide washes them away, it's a symbol of how our presence is temporary. The poem also has a style, which is first rhyme and rhythm. The poem sounds musical because it follows a pattern in how the words rhyme. This makes it pleasant to read. It also has descriptive words. So, Longfellow uses words that paint a clear picture in your mind, like waves on the beach and footprints in the sand. This helps you imagine the scene. So, the impact on literature of the poem is the timeless themes. The poem talks about things everyone experiences, like life, death, and time passing. This makes it relevant and relatable to people over many years. It also consists of simple language, where Longfellow's use of easy-to-understand words and ideas makes the poem accessible to many readers. It's a classic that people can enjoy without feeling overwhelmed. In summary, The poem is like a snapshot of life cycle, birth, life, and death. So the traveler represents people, and the tide is a symbol for the unstoppable flow of time. The poem reminds us that life is temporary, but nature goes on. It's a simple yet thoughtful reflection on the passing of time and the enduring nature of the world around us. So the noteworthy literary works of Henry Wadsworth Longfellow that I can recommend to read are: first is the Paul Revere's Ride. So in this poem, Longfellow tells the exciting tale of Paul Revere, a patriot in the early days of the United States. It was April 18, 1775, and tensions were high between the American colonies and British forces. Paul Revere, along with other riders, received the urgent task of warning the American militaries about the approaching British troops. Revere rides through the countryside, alerting people along the way by hanging lanterns in a church steeple, one if by land, two if by sea. The poem describes the suspenseful moments as Revere travels through the night, facing obstacles but remaining determined to spread the crucial message. The poem captures the bravery and patriotism of Paul Revere and emphasizes the significance of his ride in rallying the American forces for the battles of Lexington and Concord, which marked the beginning of the American Revolutionary War. So, overall, Paul Revere's Ride is a stirring and dramatic poem that celebrates the courage of a key figure in American history, highlighting the spirit of the American Revolution. So next is the Song of Hiawatha. So it is an epic poem that tells the life story of a Native American hero named Hiawatha. So the poem follows Hiawatha's journey from his birth to old age, narrating his adventures, struggles, and triumphs. So Hiawatha encounters mythical creatures, navigates the challenges of the natural world, and eventually becomes a wise leader and peacemaker. Longfellow draws inspiration from Native American folklore, infusing the poem with a rhythmic and musical quality. The work is a blend of myth, legend, and Longfellow's imaginative storytelling, providing readers with a glimpse into indigenous culture while also contributing to the broader American literary landscape. Next is The Courtship of Miles Standish. So it is a narrative poem that tells the story of a love triangle among Miles Standish, John Alden, and Priscilla Mullins, set in the context of the Pilgrim settlement in the early America. So Captain Miles Standish asked his friend John Alden to propose to Priscilla on his behalf, but Priscilla surprises John by suggesting that he speak for himself. This twist complicates the relationship, leading to a tale of love, honor, and the complexities of romantic feelings in the early days of the Pilgrim community. The poem explores the dynamics of love and friendship, highlighting the challenges and the emotions faced by its characters. So next is Evangeline, a tale of Acadie. It is a narrative poem by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow that tells the story of Evangeline Bellefontaine, an Acadian woman, and her enduring love for Gabriel Lajeunesse during the first expulsion of the Acadians by the British in 1755. Evangeline is separated from Gabriel on their wedding day. So the poem follows Evangeline's journey as she searches for Gabriel across North America, witnessing the hardships faced by the displaced Acadians. Despite her unwavering devotion and numerous encounters with other characters, Evangeline never finds Gabriel until they reunited in Philadelphia many years later. Unfortunately, the reunion is bittersweet, as Gabriel dies in Evangeline's arms shortly afterward. Next is The Village Blacksmith. This one is short and sweet. It talks about a blacksmith, a guy who works with metal in a village. It's a simple, positive poem celebrating hard work and being a good person. These poems by Longfellow are interesting because they tell stories or share feelings in a way that's easy to understand. They're like windows into different times and events in American history. And you might enjoy the mix of stories, emotions, and the way Longfellow plays with words. That's all. Thank you.